Hi guys, how we doing? So it is finally not so ungodly hot, and this little one needs some dark brown. So we're going to be doing her ears and just a little bit of a dry brush over some of this and on her tail, which will probably have to come down so you guys can see. But what we're going to do is just go straight in with the same brown we've been using, just without cutting it with other colors this time. And there will be one more color layer over top of this, which is going to be a very, very dark brown. And that will be, if you remember when I did the first iteration of Frankenfrog, I actually went over him with colors and then that I had watered down, and then I wiped them off to where they just lived in those cracks, which I actually might need to darken this just a hint. It's just a little too close to the lighter tone that we've got on there. So I'm not going with a fancy black, just this one that I had picked up with one of those cheap kits on Amazon. And that might be a little too dark. My teals are bickering again. That happens a lot. Ooh, that is really dark now. Okay. Which actually kind of works. I think I am going to lighten it up just a tiny hint, but not too much, because once I actually am brushing it out, it's actually kind of a pretty tone. I think we're going to leave it alone. We're just not going to do multiple layers, and we're going to make sure it's a nice thin layer. Not quite a dry brush, but not a full heavy layer either. But that is kind of tying it in a little bit more. Now we are going to just lightly make sure you guys can actually see what we're doing. We actually want just a bit. We are going to go over that nose and make it black as well. But we want just part of the muzzle softening into that lighter again. Not too dark, not too bright. See, now we are kind of doing a dry brush. We're also going to We actually want parts of the face to have the little hints of that darker and parts to stay the lighter. Let's go ahead and get this other ear done real quick. Make sure you guys can see what we're doing. And once again, we're not going to go heavy full brush, but a little bit thicker of a coat than we did on the face. So I've been kind of dying to get back here to play with this, to be honest. But when it gets as hot as it's been, like yesterday, we peaked out right at 100 degrees. It is impossible to keep this room back here any reasonable temperature to work in. I also do run this air conditioner as a supplemental to the house just to help keep things at a nice comfortable temperature for all of the pets and all of the people, and it's kind of important. We have a decent sized house and we do not have central air, so we have strategically placed air conditioners in this house. We do plan to eventually get some sort of house-wide heating and cooling, but she's an old house and we have a lot of work to do yet. And I know everybody's kind of dying to see the kittens, as am I. But if you want to lose the trust of a cat, force yourself into a mama cat's area with less than a week old babies. When she's ready, she will come get us, or she may even bring the babies to us. But she is coming around more. Coming out to escape the babies a little bit, I think. Can't really say as I blame her. I am going to do something I don't normally do this early on, but it's just because I like this as a baseline for the eyes. Now, this is not the entirety of the eyes. This is just a baseline color. I actually do intend to try to play with the eyes and make them look as real as I can get away with. We know eyes are not my forte. But I do try to put the effort in. Now, if you notice I'm not leaving white, if you have a dog, go look at their eyes. How much white do you see? And I just want to darken that muzzle a little bit more, and I do just want that mouth a little bit more defined. That's a little bit more than I meant to do. That's one good thing with paint. Now we have a defined nose and mouth. Little hints of color on the face. I'm just kind of softening that in. Let's see, how are we doing time-wise? Not bad. I know it looks a little wild now, but as you've heard me say before, trust the process. Can we see the tail? We cannot. Okay. There we go. And this is going to be another kind of dry brush approach. We don't want it too dark, but we also don't want it quite so bright. There we go. And now I'm going to switch to a bigger brush, maybe, possibly. And we are going to do a proper dry brush across the rest of the coat. Which you guys may not see a lot of the difference right off the bat. But it just adds one more layer of dimension. So if you've ever seen one of these dogs, they really do have these incredible multi-layer coats that just don't even look real. And I love it. I think it's such a neat looking fur pattern. And the last thing we'll do after we do the wet brush with the other colors, with the absolute darkest, which is going to be mostly black with a little bit of brown, we will come back through and dry brush just shy of white over top. Just to add that one more little bit of layer. But we're not going to be doing that everywhere. That's going to be here, a little bit maybe on the face, a little bit on the poof, and maybe a few spots here and there just to have a little bit of fun with it. And I just realized you guys are not seeing what I'm doing. There we go. Sorry about that. And the great thing with this approach is it does not have to be a consistent coating. It's just adding a layer to the coat. We're not aiming for perfection or anything like that. And I am going to go back over these ears just with the brush as it is. Just adding dimension as we pull away paint in some places and leave it in others. There we go. So that is that layer pretty much done with. I know today isn't as long as some, but we will come in tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be mostly finishing up the dog and kind of starting to lay a game plan for the pillow, which you guys can't see my hand, but yeah, we're going to start on the pillow before long. But for today, she is starting to come together. I think a few of those deep tones and some highlights and she'll be good to go. And then we can make her pillow nice and jewel toned. I'm kind of leaning toward purple and black. Purple for the pillow, black for the lining for this part here, which you can barely see. Here we go, for this part here. But we'll see what we end up with in the long run. Until then, I will talk to you guys next time.